Hey, me Chris, and today I'm going to review Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, which was made by Big Sky Interactive and published by THQ. And if the name Big Sky sounds familiar, it's because they also made SpongeBob with SquarePants with Into the Flying Dutchman. And this and SpongeBob were all they actually ever got to make, or better yet, just publish, because they actually had a game planned at one point. But anyways, this game was released on the Nintendo GameCube and the Sony PlayStation 2. But now let's jump into Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius for the Nintendo GameCube. The plot of this game is the same as the plot of the movie, where the boys go to Retroland and while they're gone, the parents get kidnapped by egg aliens, and it's up to the kids to save the day. And the movie is, in my opinion, the best original Nickelodeon movie I've ever seen, whereas the SpongeBob movie is based off a show. At the time, these characters were released out of nowhere, pretty much. But now, let's see the game. So the game starts you off in Retroland, weirdly enough, because that part of the movie is farther in, so they skipped the Area 51 part in the beginning, and the bouncing bubble part, and just all of it up until the part of Retroland. Anyways, the game is a 3D platformer just like SpongeBob SquarePants with Into the Flying Dutchman, and it also kind of fits in the collectathon type of games, where you start at Retroland and have to get 6 prizes to beat the Retroland Sword, which prizes are a pair of dentures, a goldfish, a rocket toy, an Ultraloid figurine, a teapot, and finally a rubber snake. And first you get the fish and the rocket toy by going over here, talking to this person, then going into the games, or the mini games pretty much. And you can fill up all the entrances like this, except for Carl's and Cindy's, where for Carl you need to get his handler, and Cindy you need to get her dog by giving her a treat. But in here, you need to play baseball and hit the 3 targets to finish, to get the fish, aka hitting each 3 targets to make them hit part of the moon and make the part of the moon break, and then it'll just drop you a fish. And then what you need to do for the rocket is get Goddard and hit this pressure pad to get the rocket to go all the way up and just break, and then the rocket toy will drop down. And to get the snake, you have to go over here, talk to this person, and then walk through here. And at first you just walk through here in this little stage thing. It's pretty slow and pretty awful, but then you get to ride down this whole slide thing, and this introduces us to the riding mechanics. And they suck because, for one, the physics are so slow and sluggish, and also the controls don't work well because, for my god, I am having to jump to even turn in the air. But anyways, what happens is at the bottom, you get the snake. When you're done with the ride, basically, or near the bottom of the ride, there's a little rubber snake thing, and you just grab it. And then go get Cindy's dog, and then return the dog to Cindy, and then she lets you go into the genie ride. And man, does it blow fat portions of ass cheeks, just like the last man, pretty much. Because all you do is just jump from one apartment, wait for a few seconds, and then do that again like 3 times, and then jump to a little island thing, then wait for the platform up here, and then just get the teapot, then leave and never think about it again. Then you go talk to Imposter Carl and get his inhaler, then you can go into the ride. And here you're in a clown's mouth and you have to get the dentures through a maze. But the problem is, for one, why in the actual fuck am I in a clown's disgusting ass mouth? And 2, the maze part, like the main gameplay here, is the most easy, sad, pathetic maze I have ever had the displeasure of playing, because you just walk for a few minutes and touch these pads a few times and then you're done. Like, it's not an actual maze with branching paths or anything. It's a really linear, platforming stage, pretty much, just without the platforming even. You're just walking. And you leave, you're at the Sheen, and then you go to the last level here, which is just platforming above active lava to get a shitty looking Ultraloid figurine. And go over here, brag, and then you're done with Void 1. And man, was this Void an awful start. It was just so boringly and sloppily put together. But Void 2 mainly takes place at Jimmy's house, and mainly his lab also. And you talk to Carl, he says your rocket parts have been stolen. So you get the 3 parts, those being a gear, an engine, and I think another inhaler. And to get the parts, you need to go into Jimmy's room, kill an alien, and then he just drops the gear. Okay then. And to get the engine, you need to go through this lab. You need to go into Jimmy's lab and through this hole, and it takes you to a platforming level like this, aka this level. But it's limited to 2D, and there's these ants too, plus some toxic goop shit to get in here you get the engine. And to get the inhaler, just hop on to Gata and go to the top of the lab and you're done. And I think now's a good time to mention the Rocket minigame that I didn't play because I dislike shoot 'em up games. But this was Void 2, and it was somewhat better than Void 1. But the only thing even worth noting is how it introduces the combat system. Just wasn't the sliding mechanics, because at least with them, they were trying to do something new. But here, you just kick. Like with delay too. It's just kicking and kicking and kicking and shit. But yeah, this Void is somewhat better only due to the anthill level, which was fun to play in all honesty. Which is more than I can say anything kind of Void 1 to offer, which is more than anything I can say than Void 1 had to offer. So, still better. Moving on to Void 3, which is now you're in space, trying to find the other kids and colony system glasses now. But Cindy's up here, Carl's below here, the unnamed killer's over here, Rose is up here, and What's-Her-Face is over here. And What's-Her-Face and Cindy need to be rescued, and you need to use the combat system to kill space agents and these worm things. And the robot has Carl's glasses, but this level was so hard when I first played through. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm actually recording somewhat good footage, this time with OBS. But this Void was hard when I first played through, mainly because I didn't know where everything was, and I had to spend like hours just looking for shit. But yeah, Void 3 is just a Void of combat in a weird way. Very little of it's actually reserved towards platforming, and hell, if anything, platforming takes a back seat here, while the front seat goes to combat, the middle seat goes to racing, like sliding down a hill. So yeah, so far it's the worst level in the entire game, which isn't saying much. But next Void is Void 4, where the bigger focus is on platforming, thankfully, and puzzle gaming, weirdly enough, where you need to get 3 cans of gas, which the aliens are holding, so there's still combat, but then you need to kill the aliens, platform in a few minutes, then you need to unlock a few things, and actually, that's the puzzle right there, and also throw radioactive rocks through here, so Cindy isn't imprisoned anymore, like in the movie where all the kids got captured and imprisoned. But yeah, you just pretty much all you do is just kill some aliens, get the gas cans, and also just throw some rocks in a machine and then unprison Cindy. And there's Void 5, which tries to combine everything, so it ends up feeling awful. But you first need to rescue 3 parents so you can use the accesses to progress the ship further in the level. But to get them to access the parents or talk to them, you need to kill aliens with the shit combat. But then you need to go through a sliding level, which blows biggest portions of ass from any sliding level because of everything I already mentioned. Plus this huge gap that caused me to get a game over. Damn it. And also, in the section after that, there's a section you have to do where you just kill 9 robots as a boss fight, fully every wave, and then you're done with Void 5. Overall, it's the worst. It's like, I'd say that Void 3 is still the worst, but Void 5 is like second in like the overall worst weight of levels in this game. And then the final Void, where you first have to talk to Carl and then rescue his mother by killing a robot which has the mind control beamer. Then rescuing Carl's mom, she tells you where Jimmy's parents are. Then you finish this quick little platforming segment, and then you go up here to rescue Carl's dad, and he tells you where to control, and then he tells you you need to go to the control pad, and then you go through this door after killing some robots, or aliens, I suppose it can go either way. And then you have to rescue Cindy's mom when you go through the door, and then and then at the end of that little saving Cindy's mom thing, she opens the door, you go through that door, and then you do a boss fight against this bird by making him have to break these shooting things that shoot you, of course, and you have to make the bird break all 3 of them, and then when that's done, you actually get to go to the final last boss, which all you have to do is just throw an egg at the 2 shooters. Like 2 eggs pretty much, 1 at each of them, and then the main egg guy starts shooting a lot, like he doesn't stop, but then all you have to do is just go up to him and kick him a few times, and then bam, you've beaten Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius. And wow, this game sucked, because it was either just a boring, sluggish game or a broken mess. And typically, I love glitchy, broken games because I can just no-clip out of the world and have fun and laughing at that. But here, you just boringly platform for a level that's not well designed and just not have fun because how broken it is when you have a good chance of clipping out, but then just immediately spawning right back in. And the levels are not well designed because the controls, well, just because the controls are the worst aspect of the game. They're very important to any game, but here they're stilted, slow, and downright non-responsive most of the time. And that makes the level design bad, because the controls make it hard to even do basic navigation in this mess that's disguised the game. And yeah, the camera doesn't help, because unlike SpongeBob Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, where you had mostly complete control of the camera, where you can rotate it, here's a static camera which stays in place except for when you move. But you can't turn it, so you hardly see jack shit and just fall most of the time. But yeah, this game completely fails the gameplay side of a game. But let's see how this game's graphics, if it can even have good graphics, make it good. This game's graphics are awful because, for one, the environments look so low poly. Like, look at this shit and something doesn't look ripped out of like an early PS1 launch title game. And the characters are so awfully modeled too. Like Jimmy, for example, where his model, for one, has a naturally open mouth, where it just looks off, and the texture, and seemingly the texture for his skin and hair were like realistic textures, and that doesn't fit when the model itself looks ripped out of a PlayStation 1 game. So yeah, what we have model-wise is a broken mess. We have a realistically textured, low-poly PlayStation 1 model, and the animation for the characters in the cutscene is awful, because when they're just talking, the bones for the model are only in the arms, legs, torso, neck, and the mouth area, and eyebrows, so they can't blink. And by mouth area, I don't mean like the mouth they modeled, I mean the mouth and like the middle bottom part of the entire like head model. And God forbid they animate them walking in these horrific cutscenes. But in the actual gameplay animations, not cutscenes, game animations, they're fine. Not good, not bad, but fine. And that's probably the best part of all of it so far with this pathetically sad experience. So let's see if there's something salvageable in the audio department of this game. This game sounds mixed, believe it or not. Well, the music is fine overall, which is thankfully another fine thing we can add to the list. Fine, that is, not good, not bad. But the voice acting for Jimmy is actually, for once, competent, is good, it's great at audio, just sounds compressed. But then this Carl sounds pretty bad, and there's something, but still there's something good in this mess we call a game, and that's Jimmy's voice acting. This game is awful. Like, seriously, if you go play Revenge of the Flying Dutchman if you want to play one of Big Sky Interactive's games, because out of the two, well, my favorite game of all time compared with Sonic Adventure is SpongeBob Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. One of my least favorite games of all time is the other game, Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, which I just reviewed. Like, this game is awful, I hate it, I never want to play it again until soon, where I may, just may, stream myself on Twitch playing through the game. But I hate this. It lands like a fucking 0.3 out of 10 with me. So that's it. See you all next time when we may cover another Jimmy Neutron game, or we may cover SpongeBob Atlantis SquarePanthers. Who knows? That's about it. See ya.